It's not a vote on Elon's comp plan. It's really a vote on Elon as a person in the last 3 years, and that's what makes it, I think, not the right level of thinking for a lot of people.
What comes to mind is that this is more not much of a compensation thing package to be voted on. It's more of a vote of confidence for Elon. I think this is what.
Why do you have that? Why do you have that perspective though? Because
Elon's not going to get it. I mean, the court said that the compensation package gets disapproved. Do you think Elon will leave Tesla?
Bro, as much as I agree, that's never going to happen. Elon is not that guy.
What do you think is the likely output or the likely outcome for this whole drama going around with the vote? Fail, pass? What do you think, man?
Okay, I'm going to say...
The reason why I brought you on is because, well, one of the reasons because you've been MIA, man. The second thing is that you have, I mean, right now, the Tesla community is pretty tense with this voting thing. We need as many people to speak, and I know you're one of the voices in the Tesla community. A lot of people do want to know your thoughts, including me. That's why we have Yashu on the chat right now, on this awesome interview right now. And you guys, if you guys haven't subscribed to Yashu or follow him on X, link in the description, you guys must. He has some awesome thoughts when it comes to Tesla. A lot of the stuff is out of the box, so yeah, worth a follow. That's all I'm saying. And a subscription to his YouTube channel. So Yashu, how you doing, man? You've been away for 2 weeks. I think you've been in Arizona.
Yeah, I was in Arizona for a little bit. Then I've been mentally still in Arizona, even though I'm back. But I appreciate you having me on. I've been a little bit I've been watching from the sidelines a little bit more than I usually do. And I don't know why, but I'm just trying to understand the psychology of everything that's going on right now. We got a couple more weeks left until this vote happens. Everyone and their mom is talking about this vote. Morgan Stanley put out a really good note that we can also talk about. I have it pulled up in case we want to talk about it, about what happens, with this comp plan or Texas, Delaware, all this stuff. So I'm an open book. Let's talk about it. You might not agree with everything I have to say, but I mean, that's the part of the fun.
Yeah, that's 100% part of the fun. I'm excited for it. So before we get into the voting juicy stuff, I am very curious to know, you tried Waymo in Arizona, right?
Dude, I told everyone and their mom I was going to try it. And then the last day happened and things fell apart. My schedule was busy. I know.
So you didn't get to try it. Darn it.
I know. But I'll give you a compensation story. So my Uber driver on the last day I was telling him, I was like, I'm pretty pissed. I'm in your Uber right now. No offense, but I wish I was in a Waymo. And he's like, dude, I only use Waymos. He's like, I Uber kind of as a way to make money, but he's like, if I'm out in Scottsdale and just for a night out, I'm only using Waymo. And so he's telling me about his experience. And he's like, the reason why he feels safe, bottom line, and I thought this was really interesting, he feels really safe in a Waymo because the screen tells the person what the Waymo is thinking, like stopping for the car ahead or slowing down for the car that's potentially merging in your lane or slowing down for the yellow light. It explains it apparently to him in such manner where he feels safe. He looks at the Waymo, he's looking at the screen, he doesn't feel like it's doing something that it doesn't know. I'm not sure how much of that is teleoperator or whatever it might be in some places, but he tells me he uses it all the time. And honestly, when I pulled it up on the app, it was cheaper than an Uber in most cases. I was paying $30 for an Uber where I could Waymo for $22. The reason why I didn't was because I was slightly out of the zone. That's the problem with geofencing, right? Because my whatever place I was staying at was about like 5 minutes out of the zone that it operates in. So for me to actually use it, I'd have to like drive 6 minutes, get out of my car, and then Waymo. It just didn't make sense. So, but next time.
No, that's a big disadvantage for like Waymo and stuff. But that's very interesting that the guy would say that he would only be in a Waymo. It just gets you thinking that what's this full self-driving is not geofence. So once we have that going widespread, it's like, how crazy is that going to be? I just wanted to know if you got into Waymo. I wanted to see what the difference was because I know you got the latest version, 12.3, right? You got the latest one.
12.3.6.
Yeah. How was it in Vancouver downtown? Like, how was it driving downtown? Like, I know I see some videos of yours on X and such and on YouTube, but how is it generally feeling? Because I've never experienced the full self-driving. Hopefully I can experience it this summer.
Yes, you have to.
Shout out to Brian. Shout out to you for letting me know that Brian has the FSD in Toronto. So I'll be scheduling with him and doing some stuff with him. So
if you're ever in Vancouver, feel free to hit me up, of course.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
100%. So here's my general 60-second thoughts on FSD. I don't want to bore too much people on it. But when I first got FSD, I think if you had given me FSD 11, I would have probably had a similar reaction because I had gone from an autopilot baby, just cruise control, traffic aware, within lane, to now it's like making turns, right? So it's already epic. So,
Nice.
but I didn't start with FSD 11. I started with 12, all right? So whatever that trial was, epic. I still think it's still some days I sit in the car, I'm like, what is going on? Like, it's just, it's just driving me. Now, imagine a progress bar, right? It goes from 0 to 100. I'll go this way, 0 to 100.
Okay.
If someone tells you that the 100% is the goal that you need to hit, you essentially look at FSD and go, okay, maybe it's 99% there, maybe it's 95% there. I don't know what the exact number is. Let's just play that scenario. But you look at the progress and you go, wow, that is amazing progress that FSD has made. And then what happens is you get normalized to certain software or certain things that you have that you're really lucky to have, the house you live in, the car you drive, whatever it might be. And so you start to normalize it. And what happens is, if you can imagine, you almost kind of zoom in to the end of the progress bar and you go, okay, it's 5% to go, but man, that's a long way. And so even if you have incremental progresses that happen along the way, you can continually zoom in. And this is like the march of the nines, essentially, is what I'm trying to illustrate. So my thoughts are FSD 12.3.6 is epic. There's certain quirks. And my main reason for disengagement today is not so much safety, although there are safety cases that I have to disengage. A lot of it is me going, oh, man, I don't want to wait behind this car around here. It's going to take a long time. I'm just going to swerve around this guy, get around here, take the back alley, and then go my way faster. Like, I don't like, what's the point of me having to wait a minute and a half? And I guess this is stupid thinking in some respects, right? Like, why should I have to wait? I'm kind of an aggressive driver that way. I want to go around people. That is my main reason I disengaged today. If you're driving FSD as a, let's say, one day passenger, as a Robotaxi passenger, you have no say. Right? Like, if I'm sitting in Uber or Lyft, I'm in no position to start telling the Uber driver and whatever, go around this guy or, cut through here. I just sit in the car, I get to where I need to go. So those types of disengagements are going to matter less. But of course, there's certain quirks with FSD 12.3.6 that still need to be fixed up. I have a list on my Twitter. Feel free to follow me if you want there at Hey It's Yashu. I have a list there that I'm looking for in 12.4 that hopefully a lot of these are clear. But to answer your question, I said 60 seconds. I probably took 2 minutes, but yeah. It's so epic with what we're seeing. I'm just now at that point where it's so normalized. I'm like, I want the next one.
Yeah, the next one, I think 12.4, it should be getting released. I mean, maybe as we speak right now, it's getting released. I know they're doing stuff. I know employees are getting it. Yeah. That's I'm looking to see that massive jump. And Elon did mention that, I mean, I think just yesterday, that FSD will have 3 different modes, which is a chill mode, a normal mode, or a hurry mode. The scenario you just mentioned, how you didn't want to wait 1 minute to go around the car. If you have it on hurry mode, I think it can just figure it out, go around. But I think that's gonna take some time. Maybe, I mean, the way how they're collecting data and how this thing's improving every 2 weeks. Yeah, it wouldn't be crazy to say that by end of the year, we could probably see this thing becoming more generalized and being more just out there, becoming more normal. And I know they're going to be starting. They started to do registration in China, which is pretty darn exciting. Which I want your thoughts on this as well. But I could see it by end of the year, that the full self-driving thing becoming a normal thing for most people, and for Tesla to sell its software to majority of the vehicles who are eligible in North America. Yeah. Hopefully Europe can come in soon, but yeah.
I wouldn't hold my breath on Europe so much, I think, yet. Unfortunately, I think the regulations there are just pretty antiquated, although I think there was a recent change, but I'll have to double check. I think we also have to recognize, like, we live in a bubble a little bit. Like, we talk about Tesla, we like Teslas, we look at FSD videos. The general public really has no clue. I've probably given 12 to 15 people rides in my car that have either never driven a Tesla before, and of course, all of them had never been in FSD before. And I think the general thought process for everyone going in is, wait, what? Wait, you're not touching that? Wait, how does that work? Like, it's pretty mind-blowing for a lot of people. And I would probably say 20% of people that went, wait, does Tesla always have this? Because there was this kind of general brand association with Tesla that there were self-driving cars for many, many years already. So there's some percentage of people, 1 in 5 maybe, that come in and go, so like that, but like Tesla's had this for a while, right? Because remember, Teslas used to be the first car that parked themselves, and everyone thought that was so cool. There's a degree of like normalization that I agree will happen, but I'm not so much excited for that. What I'm excited about is like when will Tesla start applying for licenses in certain jurisdictions? When and I also think Tesla will probably need to geofence, even though it's a generalized solution. We'll need to geofence certain things, certain parameters, certain hours of the day or whatever it is initially when it launches its first fleet of robotaxis, because I think that just makes sense. You don't want to have 24/7 anywhere in the world. Like someone could take your Tesla from San Fran to LA. Like that doesn't make any sense. You probably want to geofence it to probably some degree. But that's what I'm excited about. Those leading indicators that we'll hear about probably, hopefully, even before 8.8 about them applying for licenses in certain areas. Because remember, they have to be at certain level, SAE levels, right, to be able to operate. So it's exciting times. FSD is probably the most exciting thing I think Tesla's got going on right now, because Tesla's really changed, right? In the last 4 years, Tesla's gone from, wow, you look at their auto business, they're doing 30% gross margins, 20% operating margin. They're growing. This thing is valuable. And then now it's going, okay, margins have declined massively. Although, I was watching your video and you and many other people think it's only up from here. But you kind of look at the crux of their core, their core business of their auto, and you go, well, if you project this out, it's not where Tesla is going to hopefully be as in terms of valuation 10 years from now, the core auto business. But that was the case 3 years ago when Tesla was printing those gross margins. You could evaluate Tesla's auto business with the assumption, because every model has assumptions, with the assumptions that demand would persist at the same ASP. Fortunately, it's not the case anymore. So Robotaxi, it's not changing goalposts. Elon has changed business strategies altogether.
Yeah, he kind of had to, because Tesla doesn't have an affordable 20K, 25K car out yet. And, there's only a limit that you can sell $50,000 vehicles, $40,000 vehicles in the market, especially when you're not in all of the markets around the world. So I think Elon could see, he even said it in an interview with Sandy Munro, that this was a long time ago, saying that the Gigafactory in Mexico is not ready to be, to go under construction. And apparently it's not ready yet at the moment to go under construction, because their next gen vehicle has not been fully, ready to get it structured in that way in that Mexico. Yeah, the Robotaxi, I do agree with you. I think it will first start with the geofenced area, like how Waymo is doing and Cruise is doing in some states, and then slowly grow. The cool thing about Tesla is that they can scale it, unlike Waymo and the other ones. They can just scale it every single year by a order of magnitude if they really want to. But the bubble that you said with FSD, a lot of people don't know about this, which is crazy. No one knows that this, the cars can now drive with the latest version, can pretty much drive on their own with little to no intervention. And I think that's where the opportunity lies. Before everybody knows, I like to call it early investors, we get to capitalize on the, not financial advice, but on the cheap prices. But what are your thoughts on the FSD entering China? I know they're getting registration there for June. Do you think they're going to get the latest version, 12.3, 12.4 there? Is it going to be for beta? Because I think the whole system is a little bit different there compared to how it is here in North America. So what are your thoughts on that? Curious to know.
Yeah, so, okay, China. Huge opportunity for Tesla. Tesla's one of the few companies, we got to remember, that can operate in China without having Chinese ownership, right?
That's crazy.
Apple's one of them too. There's only a select few companies that get this type of treatment in China. So the Chinese, I wouldn't say they're rolling out the red carpet for Tesla, because companies like Baidu have already launched their Waymo-esque fleets sort of thing. But I think it signals that, I think number one, Elon is looking for FSD globally, not just North American opportunity. But I'm not holding my breath on FSD being a revenue opportunity for Tesla in the next immediate future. And that's because I think there's a lot of training that needs to be done still for every model. And China's going to be a totally different monster. The way they drive there, the signs to be able to read, the rules of the road, the mannerisms of the other drivers on the road, all of this is going to take some training. It's not going to happen overnight. And you could run into shadow mode and you can train on that, but only so much. We know that Tesla's engineers on the AI team love the fact that they're getting disengagement data now from so many more users now that FSD is on subscription. Eventually, I think FSD in China is a huge opportunity, just because that's where the majority of Teslas in the world are, right? Like Shanghai's built most of the car, maybe half of them. So, some have been exported for sure, but China is a huge, huge, huge market for Tesla. But the bigger underlying thing here, I think that is important to realize is that the real reason I think they're really pushing for China is not so much that in the immediate future, I think FSD is going to be launched there. I think Tesla's realized that they have demand issue in China because their cars have been commoditized. If you listen to some interviews of Chinese car buyers, a lot of them go like, Teslas are a dime a dozen. Like I can get one here, everyone has one here. Like they're so prevalent in China, Teslas, and they're not very expensive. And the Chinese auto market is a little bit different. So I think what Tesla is really trying to do is trying to give the novelty to potential car buyers in in China for their Teslas without having to change the model, because changing the model we know with Highland how much work it is, right? And we know that the refresh that's been done. I think the software move is so much easier if you can launch FSD, give people beta, give people supervises trial. That in and of itself is a big differentiator. If you're going to go buy a car tomorrow, hey, this one comes with FSD supervised, and for 95% of the drive, I don't really have to do anything. I think that's great. And that's a great differentiator, I think, in the near-term demand. Long-term, of course, none of that is going to matter if robotaxis come out. But I just think the speed that Tesla's moving at in North America shows that it probably is going to take some time to launch in China. Now, as I say that, the other side of me is thinking, well, when has China ever moved other than lightning speed? Like everything in China moves at lightning speed. Like you look at the Shanghai plant, how fast that was for them to launch.
Look at the Megapack plant. That thing's moving on lightning speed as well.
And yeah, because they have so much less red tape. Like everything, like if you need something built, like it's like, all right, when can you start? Right? It's not like Detroit, right? So I don't want to talk out of both sides of my mouth, but I think I weigh those things kind of in my decision making. I look at China, I go, let's not hold our let's not think this is happening within the year or something in terms of a robotaxi fleet happening anytime soon in China.
Yeah, what I think is that because they made this partnership with Baidu, reading all the signs and everything like that will be a whole lot quicker and faster because Baidu is like the Google of China. So I think this will be updated much faster than we think. But for it to be rolled out, for it to be, I guess, advertised, or for people to understand that Teslas now you can, 95% of the time, like you said, you don't have to do anything. I think that'll take some time for the people to realize that, do I really want this thing to drive me around? Because the way people drive in China are a whole lot different than how people drive in North America.
Yes, big time.
So yeah, I think it'll take some time as well too. But I can see the massive snowball effect happening very fast as well. As soon as people realize that, in this part of town I can use it, or this part of city I can use it if it's geofenced, right? And Robotaxi comes out 8.8. We'll see what the plan is for that. That's. I mean, I was taken back when Elon said that there's going to be a Robotaxi event this year. I'm like, okay, well, gotta buckle up.
Wait, so quick question for you. So do you think FSD in China has revenue potential within the next year, or are you past that?
When we do the math, I mean, there's almost 2 million vehicles on the road. How many of that is going to be converted to FSD? If it's not beta. If it's beta, well then, which I do think it could be beta for the first maybe a year or so it can have the guinea pigs a little bit, if you know what I mean, try them out to see what works, what doesn't. And then maybe we can open it up to more cars and stuff like that, because it is a whole new system, whole new infrastructure of driving. I don't think it's going to be a massive seller this year or so. I could be wrong, because I think there does need to be some testing into it. Maybe a year or two later, when they know that the data is good and they can go ahead and snap with a finger, they can just go ahead and do it. I think that's when we'll see like a massive, like a hockey stick chart go up. Yeah. See what will happen with that.
Yeah. And I mean, there's no other real car company that can even talk about that as a possibility, because over the software updates that Tesla is doing is still kind of nutty. So yeah, I guess let's find out.
I think potentially a licensing deal would probably happen before this even happens. I think the first car manufacturer that will license Tesla's FSD would be a Chinese company. Now BYD could be one. I think it's BYD, because they are not into this. They're calling this impossible. I'm pretty sure now they see that, okay, this thing is actually not that impossible. And if they still want to if they still want to have an edge on their vehicles, FSD is going to be the next thing to have. Let's see what happens. Interesting times.
Yeah, I know.
So let's get to the meat of this little sesh here, because we can go on and talk about FSD for hours.
It's true.
The vote.
Mm-hmm.
This is the thing that's getting everybody tense in the Tesla community. Bulls are turning against it. It's just ridiculous going on. What do you think, man? Like, where do you stand on this, on all this? Let's just start there on the servers. Where do you stand on all this with the vote? What do you think?
Okay, the vote. I think it's super consequential. I think people that say that it's not consequential might be missing the point. Of course, it's, and okay, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So the vote. I think Elon's comp plan is probably a coin toss. Morgan Stanley, Adam Jonas. Yeah. So Adam Jonas put out a note, late afternoon yesterday, and he surveyed 109 people, presumably on Wall Street, just to get their thoughts on kind of what would be happening here. And 57% of them, and by the way, I know before I already hear the comments coming at me, who cares about what these people have to say? But let's just assume they're a little bit more plugged in to the general voting population of people that have shares or hedge funds or whatever like that. 57% of those respondents expect an approval of Elon Musk's comp plan. 57%. Now, those are not like super confidence inducing numbers. Like, it's not like 80%. It's not like 70%. It's 57. So that's why I say it's a coin toss. It feels like a coin toss to me. And the reason, also, another way to look at this is, what are Tesla and Elon projecting out there? And Tesla, we know, is buying ads for pushing the comp plan through. Of course, that doesn't signal that they think that pretty much signals to me that they think it's close. They really think it's close. They have to mobilize the vote here, because if they thought this was a landslide, they wouldn't be advertising. Elon would not be pushing publicly. We see all those SEC filings coming out with Elon replying to everyone. And by the way, Pejjy, I already know what you think because I've watched your video. So so that's my thought on the comp plan. The Delaware Texas thing, I think, is, of course, it's important. And I don't know if that one, I'm less sure about that one getting passed. I'm more sure about the comp plan. If you had to say which one of these do you think gets passed, I think the comp plan gets passed more likely than the Delaware to moving to Texas. Those are my thoughts. I generally agree. And by the way, the really cool part of this note is they asked them what degree of they asked them, what is your expected Tesla stock reaction in the subsequent 3 trading days in the event that the comp plan is approved? And 44% of people said it would be, Tesla stock would go up 3 to 5%. 24% additionally said, so that's a total of 68% of people said that Tesla would move up significantly, 6 to 10% or more. So if the comp plan is approved, Wall Street, through Morgan Stanley's note, is projecting Tesla stock to rally between 10 plus percent. Conversely on that, they said, what is your expected Tesla stock reaction over the 3 trading days in the event the comp plan is not approved? 54% of people said that Tesla would be down 6 or 10% or more. So down significantly, 54%. So what we have here is, at least if we take this at face value, which we don't have to, but there's kind of there's a disproportionate downside risk to, if the stock plan doesn't get approved, Tesla might go down more than 10%. If it gets approved, maybe it's only up 3 to 10%. Now, your point, and I'll let you make it here in a second, is that, well, even if it gets disapproved, they can redo it on the next comp plan, and Elon's not going to go away anywhere, right? Because he's not going to run with everything. But I think the point here is not that he's going to run away. Of course, that would be very bad. I mean, the big reason why a lot of people invest in Tesla is because of Elon, but it's because you want his heart to be fully in Tesla. And I'm not saying that his heart would not be fully in Tesla, but there's a possibility that he shifts more resources, because people only have a limited amount of resources in the day, to potentially be less Tesla, versus the opposite. If the comp plan does get approved, he gets what he wants, let's say, and he's full on heart in Tesla. I think there is a slight difference there. I don't think it's just a wash in any case. I think there is a degree of difference. Now, does that get fixed eventually? Maybe. But yeah, I want to hear your thoughts to everything I just said.
No, it's interesting. It's interesting. Your thoughts are interesting. The Morgan Stanley thing is interesting. What I see is, I was thinking yesterday, and I'm like, okay, the Delaware court came out and said that regardless of if it gets approved or gets disapproved, we are not going to change our outcome. They said this. They said that, okay, cool, if you get 51% or 99% approval for your compensation package, it's not going to change our mind. You're still not going to get it. What comes to mind is that this is not much of a compensation thing, package to be voted on. It's more of a vote of confidence for Elon. I think this is what.
Why do you have that? But yeah, sorry to interrupt. So why do you
Yeah,
have that perspective though? Because
Elon's not going to get it. I mean, the
but
court said
why?
that.
But what makes you think he's not going to get it?
Well, how would he get it if the court is not gonna, if the court's gonna
Well,
go like, we're gonna show.
there's one case where they ratify it in Texas. Obviously, that would be a totally different scenario. It would get passed in that case.
Of
But let's say
course.
that doesn't happen. The reason why it wasn't passed in Delaware, according to the judge, was because proper disclosures were not made with relations to Elon and the board of directors and not being independent. This time around, they've obviously spent time and thoroughly fixed all those disclosure issues and then put it to a vote. So in theory, if this does get passed, even in Delaware, this should get passed and re-ratified again. There's no way that Tesla is putting the resources into this vote if they know it's a trivial matter. This would cover and if someone knows better than I or Pejjy, put it in the comments. But this would re-ratify the comp plan for all intents and purposes, unless something else pops up. But those disclosure issues, I am sure Tesla has paid millions of dollars in their disclosure to address all of those concerns and more this time around.
No, I hope so. I hope so. But I know that Delaware, they came out with the court saying that even if this thing gets approved or something, we're still not going to change our mind. But I don't know.
Yeah, which is true. They're not going to change their mind on the first plan that they ended up voiding, but this would be an entirely new plan technically, right?
Oh, okay. If that's the case, well,
yeah,
I thought they'd be going back to the first.
And again, maybe this is just madman talking, but Tesla's is how would they put all the resources that they put into this, knowing it's just essentially just a virtue signaling, point that they're trying to do here. I don't think that's the case at all.
I hope so. I hope not. I hope not, man.
Yeah. But sorry,
no,
go through your process. So you were thinking last night, you're like, even if this gets passed, it's more of a vote of confidence, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. We have to do this again 6 years later, even after it's been done. And it's crazy that the fact that the same investors that voted on this in 2018 that already 10x their money are voting no this time. It's just,
yeah, I know.
You know how I feel on that already, but
yeah, I didn't vote in the last one. I wasn't around. I totally agree. I think there's something to be said about the people that are reneging on this because of something. Let's be honest. Who was talking about the disclosure issues in that vote being an issue up until this thing got raised? I mean, if it was such an issue, why wasn't there more uproar in the last 2 or 3 years while Tesla's market cap was climbing, or I guess 3+ years now? No one was talking about it. But now that they have an opportunity, and now that there's an opportunity to renege on something, they're like, oh yeah, that is an issue. And you know what? I feel like I shouldn't pass this anymore.
Even though 10x my money.
Right. And so look, I'm not in the business of telling anyone what to do. People have their opinions. People can do whatever they want. That's their right. Like these shareholders that don't want to vote for it, it's really your call at the end of the day. That's why you hold shares. To me, it's like, okay, if this wasn't even a concern for you, but if you can show me that this was a concern for you for many years, now that it came up, you're like, this is perfect. I've been talking about this for a while. Okay, well, maybe you are consistent, but now it's come out of nowhere. And now it's an issue for people. It's not a vote on Elon's comp plan. It's really a vote on Elon as a person in the last 3 years. And that's what makes it, I think, not the right level of thinking for a lot of people.
That's why it goes back, someone said it on X, that this is more of a vote of confidence for Elon. And I think this would be a good signal for him. Like, well, okay, maybe I have to spend more time on Tesla, maybe depending what the vote is going to be. I think the compensation package is going to get approved. I mean, whether if it's by slight margin or not, I think it's going to get approved. Delaware, though, I don't think that's going to get approved. According to Boomer Mama, she was saying that only half of the shareholder can vote for this, and the other ones that can't vote for it is automatic no. So it looks like this could be, but that's not the main issue right now. The main issue is the comp package, but the Delaware thing will continue to come up until this is moved to Texas. What I think overall, because there's a lot of theories on this, why this is happening, why Tesla's pushing this so hard. It's not because of Elon's compensation package. Yes, the guy needs to get paid. I agree with that. It'll bring up his total ownership to the company from 30% to 20%. He wants 25% voting power. It's voting power and shares are two different things. People are getting this mixed up. Now, yeah, Tesla doesn't have preferred shares to have that class later, to have that, voting class later like he does with other companies.
Yeah.
But I think this will be the case once it goes to Texas, or maybe in his next compensation package when it goes to Texas. I think this is more the push Tesla is doing is because of the Delaware. I think that's what the main thing is. Elon doesn't need the money. Yes, he wants the money. He deserves it. He deserves every penny of it, maybe shares of it because it's stock options. But it's not the money that he's really after. He's after getting the 25% voting power and moving the damn thing out of Delaware to Texas. I think this is what all the push is, because those who vote for the competition package are going to vote for the Delaware move as well. That's my thoughts.
Okay, well, look, I think, first of all, the voting power thing is 100% true. Actually, I don't mean to toot my own horn. It was my tweet that Elon replied to about the voting power issue, because what happened was I said the exact same thing that you just said. I pretty much said, and people didn't understand that this is what I was saying. I in my initial tweet, I said, I don't know why Elon needs a new comp plan. By the way, this is before this one was canceled, right? This was assuming this one was still
it was a
valid.
long time ago. I remember,
People were still talking about a second comp plan, even though the first comp plan he still got paid from. So I basically quote tweeted, I think it was Jacob Hilton, who has a YouTube channel too. And I said, look, I agree. Why does Elon need more money? He has 100 million shares, whatever I said in my tweet. This guy is not driven by money. Why do we need another comp plan? That's what I said. People took it the wrong way. People thought I said that I don't think Elon deserves to be paid, which is not what I was saying. I was saying Elon's not driven by money. So what's the point of a new comp plan, right? He knew when Elon replied, and Elon said, it's not about me getting more money. It's about me making sure that I have enough voting power within Tesla as we build AI. And he said, he said other things as well. It was like 4 paragraphs. This was before this one was canceled by this judge. And so Elon, of course, is already privy to, look, this one's not looking good. This judge is probably going to end up canceling this. We didn't know that at that time. So Elon's thinking, I need to start getting people on the bandwagon of my second comp plan before the first one's even canceled. So when the first one is canceled, people really think I deserve the second one, right? And this is probably Elon game theorying it. Because remember, I mean, a lot of Elon's wealth, of course, he doesn't need money, but it does, like, he's leveraged to like, he has to be because of his Twitter purchase or his X purchase. Like, there's a lot of shares that are on the line that Elon is not about spending the money lavishly, but he's about doing things with it. And he's done things with the money that he had earned, and now that it's being revoked, he's in a position where he needs to figure out what's going to happen here, because he has certain shares pledged or whatever it might be. So I totally get it, but that 25% voting control is the key point, right? Because I agree, it's not about the money. If there's a way that you can get Elon to 25% voting control and he's happy again, because remember, he wants to be outvoted past 3-1 on something for that's what 25% means. For it to actually pass through. The problem, though, Pejjy, is that I do not see, and this is my, totally unprofessional, untrained opinion, as everything is, to be fair. I don't see a mechanism, man, where they can do the preferred share thing at all. Because all of the companies that do the preferred shares, they do it pre-IPO in anticipation for IPO. Google, Google has Google L and Google, right, on the stock market. There's technically 2 Google stocks.
Berkshire Hathaway has it.
Okay, they have it.
Class A, Class B,
Right. But there's no mechanism that I see, because it would have been done by now, that you can do it. I don't think this is just a Delaware thing. I think this is a pre and post IPO thing. Once you list, this is hard to do. Because the issue is, how do you give everyone a fair shake post IPO? The problem with IPOing, and problem that Elon has with public companies, is now he's accountable to anyone that invests even $1 in his company for any decision. And if you feel like, this is my baby, this is my business, I know what I'm doing, leave me alone, public companies are hard for you to run. And Elon's publicly said that. So post IPO, doing this preferred share thing, I just don't see a mechanism by which this can happen in the classic preferred share, non-preferred share way. I'd love to be proven wrong on that. I think what might end up happening, and someone threw this out, they said, what if there's a way that shareholders can give Elon their proxy votes or something like that, so Elon can represent their vote? But I just don't know the mechanisms by which that can happen. I guess we'll see. And your point was a real valid one in your last video. Everyone should go watch it, where you were like, look, even if robotics is out of Tesla, or even if future AI is out of Tesla, look at everything that Tesla still has: the car business, the FSD business, the bot business. But man, wouldn't you love to know that anything Elon builds is within the company of Tesla that you invest in? Like, I think that is the holy grail. And for Elon to have to go to XAI to build certain things and Tesla to build other things that he doesn't want, like, I don't think that's the preferred way
Yeah.
probably any shareholder to want to feel.
Yeah, absolutely not. Well, I mean, the reason why I went pretty much all into Tesla stocks because of one thing only, and that's the autonomous driving. The bot and the other things, I'm just like, okay, cool, cherry on top. But no, I agree with that. It'd be better to have Elon to have everything happening in Tesla rather than him taking things or the advanced things that he hasn't built yet in Tesla to another company. Now, what's interesting is that you mentioned that when a company goes public, they can't do preferred shares. Is that true?
My understanding is that structure has to be in place pre-IPO, and once it's post-IPO, you can't retroactively do that in the state of Delaware. I should specify in the state of
In the
Delaware.
state of Delaware. Okay, there we go.
Now that might, I don't know if that is like a blanket. Maybe in Texas you can't do it either. I don't know, but like what 90% of companies are incorporated in Delaware before they go public. Like everyone incorporates in Delaware for whatever reason. So you just don't see it happening.
If that doesn't happen, then that means Tesla would need to own 25% of Tesla with his own shares and not be able to sell any shares in order for him to stay at 25%. So that sounds a bit unpractical, no?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. That's why this is an overhang. And I hate that word because, it's like, but that's why this is an overhang is because if Elon still feels like he can't get, if he doesn't get 25%, he's not fully going to build everything in it. I don't know how this gets solved. I really don't. Again, the proxy voting way might be the only way to go about it, but or maybe one or two big investors in Tesla say publicly, like, Elon, whatever you want to vote for, we will align with you on, and maybe that's the way he gets a proxy 25% voting control. Because if Elon's at what 12% ownership right now, 12% voting control, 13. So if he needs what 12% more, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 big institutional investors come out and they say, Elon, whatever you'd want to vote for, we will make sure in the future that we're always going to be aligned with you on. And Elon feels comfortable. This is why it's an issue, man, is because not only is it an issue, I just don't see an easy way to solve this. So that leaves it kind of in a gridlock.
I don't know. I think there's a way. I mean, otherwise, Elon, he can't just, I mean, if he thinks that he needs 25% voting power, I mean, I'm pretty sure he can figure out a way, or, there is a way that he can get it one way or the other. I don't know. I think we just got to wait and see for that.
We've been on the moon. Elon's had reusable rockets. I'm sure there's a way that you can get to 25%. Nothing's impossible with this guy, it feels like. So obviously there's something that has to be solved here. I just don't see it myself, but that's not saying much because I'm not very smart.
You're pretty smart, man. Yeah. But no, guys in the comments, comment below. What do you think about this? The preferred shares? I'm not too educated on this either. Can they do it after post IPO, get the preferred shares? Something tells me that they can. I saw a comment the other day on X saying that you could do it, but not in Delaware, Texas, or not in Delaware if you do it there afterwards. Although they are looking into it to change the legislation. I don't know. This part of the IPO world, I have no idea about the preferred shares and stuff. So if you guys know, comment below. But here's a question that I'm curious to know. We'll know in 12 days' time, the compensation package gets disapproved. Do you think Elon will leave Tesla?
No, I don't think he'll leave Tesla. Elon will still own a lot of Tesla. In fact, I think even last night he liked a tweet saying basically like Elon is never going to quit or something like that, something to that effect. So no, to answer your question, no, I don't think he's going to leave Tesla.
But do you think he'll be more inclined to go like, okay, now shareholders that approved my compensation package in 2018 are now, even though I've more than 10x their money, at least 10x their money, now they're saying, no, what do I do here? Do I remove some of the stuff and take it to XAI, or do I just wait until this thing gets moved to Texas and get the new compensation package there while the stock is going slowly to the new all-time highs? Because there's a human psychology here a little bit to it.
Well, yeah.
So what do you think?
Okay, let just game theory this out, right? And think about it this way. If you're Elon and you need this to pass, you need and I'm not putting words in his mouth, not saying that he's doing this, but I think the dominant strategy game theory wise, if you're Elon right now, is to make everyone think you're going to leave. Because if everyone thinks you're going to leave and no one wants that, I mean, maybe a percentage of Tesla shareholders might want that, but I don't. You almost need that threat, right? I'm not saying Elon's threatening us. I'm just saying if you're playing this out in game theory, that threat of Elon leaving will push everyone to vote for whatever he wants, right? In theory.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So he's not going to come out and say, look, guys, I'm not going to leave. No matter what this happens, I'm going to be happy. Because if he says that, then people are going to be like, well, whatever. I don't care what the vote. I really don't care what happens with this vote then. Because if Elon says, I'm going to be happy either way, you guys do what you guys want, vote for or against, I don't care. He's not going to do that either. So the truth lies somewhere in between. Is Elon going to leave? I do not think so. Look, I mean, this is Elon's baby. He's not going to leave. Is he going to take things with him? No. But although there have been certain staff members from Tesla engineering that have moved to XAI, Elon's cleared that up a little bit by saying they were going to go to OpenAI or they were going to go here, but I offered them to stay within my ecosystem by going to XAI. No, I don't think he's going to leave. Is stuff going to... But I don't think it's the optimal solution either. Like anyone that says, oh, if this doesn't get passed, Elon is going to be the exact same. I don't know. Like there's a degree of me that does think if this doesn't get passed, we're going to miss out on certain innovations, and they're going to be mostly in XAI in terms of AI or large language models. And maybe there's a licensing deal that can happen between Grok and Tesla cars, or, in the future and stuff like that. But I mean, wouldn't we all love Elon to just be untethered and to be like, anything I want to build, I build within Tesla? Why would any shareholder not want that? So
yeah, exactly. What's the best outcome I can see happening here that I think is realistic? I know that the compensation package is going to get approved. I don't see a reason for it not to. Yeah. I think I would give it a less than 10% chance of it being being disapproved. Yeah, I think I'm pretty optimistic on this. So if it gets approved and the court goes like, fine, we'll release it, you ratified or you proved to us that, this was right. Here you go.
Well, the court has nothing to do with this new one, but yeah, that's fine.
Hopefully not. I really hope not. They can release it to him and so he can be happy. Then he'll have 20% of Tesla. And Elon did say that we can just do buybacks after that to get me to 25% in the latest earnings call of in Q1. I can see that happening, and the new compensation package that comes in will give him another like 10% of the company if he takes the company, like let's say 5, 6, 7 trillion, whatever it is. And now he'll have maybe 30% of the company, 35% of the company, and then he can start to trim off until it reaches 25 or something if he can't get the preferred shares. I think this is the most optimistic, realistic outcome I can think of.
What about the downside? If let's say that 10% happens, what do you think happens then if Elon's comp plan does not get passed come June?
Well, then I think what Elon's going to do is that he's going to try his best to get the thing away from Delaware to go to Texas. Man, to be quite honest, I just don't. It's a gray area for me. I don't, because he's not going to leave. He is going to feel discouraged, but I think he'll know why it got disapproved. If it gets disapproved, it means majority of investors are like, hey man, we're not happy with the way your energy is shared between so many things. So you got to change something up. You probably have to bring a new CEO and you got to be chairman or something. Do something so we can be focused on one person as focused on Tesla alone. But
that would be horrible. Look, a new CEO, I get it. Elon is not everyone's cup of tea, but I don't see anyone that can replace that guy at Tesla, because who knows about all the different... Tesla is not a single faceted company. Elon knows about all the different facets of the company. So to me, if that happens, dude, like if Elon's comp plan doesn't get passed, I still think there's a chance that doesn't happen. But let's say if that does, and Elon's like, I'm stepping out as CEO, man, that would really change. That would change my perspective on Tesla.
That would bad. Well, no, what I could see that I would think, I think people would panic, but it wouldn't be a bad thing, is that him going like, hey, listen, I'll be chairman. I'm still going to come, because he already says he comes to the office like once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. He's still going to do that, but it's like having a face of the company here. Now, this guy is the face. Whatever, questions you guys have, it's going to ask him, and he'll give you the answer that you want. And then we'll continue to do what we're doing. But I don't get this attack from the media or from, just random articles coming out saying that, he's going to be the adversary of Trump, even though they never spoke before, just Reuters coming out doing all these weird things. I think him going behind the curtains instead of being in front of the curtains is probably something that,
bro, as much as I agree,
would be a good, I don't know. But
listen, as much as I agree with you, and people in the comments let us know, as much as I agree with you on that potentially, that's never going to happen. Elon is not that guy. He is the guy to take the bullets for the team. He's not the guy to hide behind some PR guy. That's not the way he's operated. It's not the way he's wired. He'd rather go down sinking with the ship than rather have some fake person appointed that is just like a talking piece. It's just and maybe that's not even in his best interest, but that's just the way he is. You can't have Elon's good without his bad. It's just human nature. He's that type of guy. Yeah. Here's what I think. In the case where 10% happens and this comp plan doesn't get passed, the biggest thing I'll look out for is Elon's heart and his signaling to the shareholder, because he can come out and say, didn't get passed, all good. We're going to keep building the best stuff in Tesla. I don't care what's going to happen. We're going to push forward. that would go a long way, because the next time, like you say, the next time the comp plan happens, and it doesn't have to be a re-ratification, it can be a brand new comp plan, but the next time that comes through, that attitude post not passing of the comp plan is so key for investors to those investors that voted against it to look at and go, how did Elon react when we didn't vote for it? Well, guess what? He still showed up for work. He continued to build. He was still optimistic. He wasn't salty about it. Maybe I was wrong about voting no on this thing. And that would be the best signal in case this this comp plan doesn't pass, to me, is Elon forging ahead and still going, we're still fully gung-ho on FSD. We're going to launch. We don't care. We're not stopping for nothing. That would be the best. And I feel like that might happen.
Yeah.
Look, I don't mean to paint everything.
No. We want all kinds. We want all kinds of scenarios, the good, the bad, the ugly. We want all kinds, because this can, I mean, I'm optimistic. I think it's going to get passed, but if it doesn't get passed, we got to be ready to see what we're, coming, what's happening, what we're getting ourselves into. So it's good that we're having this discussion about the bad, the good, the ugly, all that kind of stuff. Whew. Yeah, this is intense. And what's crazy is that so many investors are so full of fear right now. They're not even focused on the company anymore. Like the fundamentals of the company, when it comes to what's going on with their full self-driving, what's going on with their fundamentals, what's going on with mega packs, energy, well, vehicles right now. I think this year is not gonna be that good, but if we do get some interest rate cuts, I think that'll change some stuff. But that's big F. But when we look at the whole core of it, the Robotaxi launch, unveil, not launch, is on 8.8, a full self-driving version 12.4, all the right signals that and a Tesla investor would want to see is happening. This vote thing with Elon is just so in the way that everyone, I'm getting comments and messages going like, listen, man, if this thing gets declined, I'm going to sell all my Tesla shares. I don't know what's going to happen after that.
What does that show you though, man? Well, that shows me, despite what everyone always likes to say, that Elon and Tesla are different. And I can see where that's coming from. Much of Tesla's story is dependent on Elon still. People think Elon, and I say this all the time, Elon is the straw that stirs the drink. Yes, Elon says FSD, I could get hit by a bus tomorrow and FSD is still on the path. Great. But what about the next thing? Like a lot of people are invested in Tesla, and maybe if you disagree, let us know in the comments. A lot of people are invested in Tesla because of Elon. They want a piece of the genius of our generation, the Thomas Edison of our generation. They want a piece of this guy and invest in him. That shows you that despite everything that you said, 12.4 and mega pack factory, like people are like, what's happening with Elon? Because they know that if Elon leaves, it's like Steve Jobs leaving Apple, and you talked about that in your video. Look, I think when Steve Jobs left and he came back, like Apple changed for the better when he came back. Right. There's a reason why. I mean, the most innovative thing, I think, in Tim Cook, and no offense, Tim Cook, I don't want to throw strays here. Like it's probably the AirPods, right? Like cool. Like AirPods took a while, but yeah, AirPods are dope. But
he's a good executor. Yeah, he's a good executor. He's not a good, like, he doesn't have any. He's not a good innovator, but he's a very excellent executor.
100%.
And he knows how to bring the stock up, and he knows what that's what I mean by having some guy like that. But I think it's appropriate only once we have Tesla that's fully matured.
So my entire point being, like, Tesla is still very much an Elon story, whether we like it or not, and for better or for worse. I think for the better. I mean, Elon, that's why you want him fully invested in Tesla. That's why you want him to have as much Tesla as he was promised. And that's why you want his full heart into Tesla. That is the big thing I want to highlight here is he can still be in Tesla, even though this doesn't get passed, and still work and all this stuff. Will his heart level be the same? His commitment level be the same if this passes versus not passing? I think you have to say there's going to be some level of difference if this doesn't get passed versus if this does get passed. I just would like this to get passed, so then his heart is fully into Tesla. And we don't have to even have this as a talking point, really. But look, to your point that you said about the comments and people saying, like, I'm going to sell my Tesla. This has always been the risk, right? Talk about index investing, talk about single stock investing. The risk with single stock investing predominantly is key man risk. This is the issue. If there's a bad PR, bad news story, and Elon is key man risk on steroids, right? This guy, anything he tweets is all over Reuters, Bloomberg, TMZ. I don't care. Like this is the issue with single stock investing, and that's why people don't recommend doing it. Because when you have an index fund, you have a million stocks that you hold. If one of them has a weird story, like, it doesn't matter to you, right? So both it's a double-edged sword. It's an opportunity, but it's also a risk. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah, personally, again, I'm pretty optimistic this thing's going to get passed. I think the amount of people who are going out there and voting, and the good thing is the Morgan Stanley that you mentioned, I think Sawyer mentioned this, is that in 2018, about 70% of institutions held Tesla shares. This time it's only 46%. So if 52% of 46% is saying they're going to vote, and the rest of it is what? I'm guessing it's retail investors or insiders. Well, I mean, yeah, I think 25% of it is insider that they can vote, but the rest of it, which would be around another 40%, is retail investors. So a majority of the retail investors are voting yes.
The problem with retail investors is that, do you trust them to vote? Have you ever had, like, if you have, how many people are late on paying stuff or late on getting this form signed? Like, retail investors are not as diligent about voting as institutional investors are, because institutional investors have billions of dollars on the line. The problem with retail investors is mobilizing the vote. And that's why I think you see Tesla putting out all those ads all over YouTube and all over Google ad network that you see right now, voting for propositions 3 and 4. So it's to be determined.
Yeah, and shout out to Tesla Boomer Mama for going crazy and working extra hard to get people to, vote, going as far as saying that, hey man, if your broker's not letting you vote, change. And I'm seeing people actually changing their brokers to a broker that's actually voting. So, kudos to her. She's doing very well. She's doing, shout out to her. So
yeah, she works really hard.
But I'm pretty optimistic. What do you think is the likely output or the likely outcome for this whole drama going around with the vote? Fail, pass? What do you think, man?
Okay, I'm gonna say the comp plan, it's a coin flip, like I said, but I'm gonna say it doesn't get passed. Okay, I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm just gonna hedge it a little bit because everyone is saying it's gonna get passed. What if it doesn't? I'm gonna say it doesn't get passed. I'm gonna say the Delaware to Texas also doesn't get passed. Let's say that. What happens in that scenario is what I'm playing through in my head. So if it does get passed, great. I mean, I think that's great. But I'm going to say there's a big enough pool of institutional investors for some reason or another look at what has happened in Tesla in the last 2 or 3 years and they go, screw this. I'm going to protest against it. And to your point, the retail investor base being so much higher, the problem with that is mobilizing those people to actually get out there and vote. I'm going to say it's a coin flip, but I'm going to say if you're going to make me pick and get off the wall, get off the fence, I'm going to say no and no.
Damn. That's crazy.
Yeah. Look, and by the way, I'm going to say on the record, I really hope I'm wrong. But and what I'm basing this off of, maybe I'm putting too much weight into this Morgan Stanley note, is it's essentially a coin flip from them on the on the respondents. It's not like a 80%, 70% approval rating. It's a 56% chance that they think Elon's comp plan gets approved. I always like to expect the unexpected, so I'm going to say no.
Wow. What I don't understand is if you're a Tesla shareholder and voting against this is not in your benefit, why would you even vote no? Just sell your shares and go somewhere else. What's your take on that? Because that's a big debate going on X.
I know. Yeah. I think the only rational way to justify that would be if you think that Elon should be replaced and that Tesla as a company is great, but Elon is potentially what's ruining it for you. And that's the only, I think, way you can rationalize that and still come out with both hands clean. Like I talked about 5 minutes ago, I vehemently disagree with that because I think Elon is what stirs the drink here. So I think that's the only way that you can justify it. As someone else said to me in one of my comments not too long ago, they said there's a degree of people that invest in Tesla just because they hate themselves. Like holding Tesla is like, it's like, what is going on? Like every day there's a different story.
Painful. Yeah.
Not even sure, painful sometimes, but it's like, what is going on? Every single day there's a story. There's something happening. Yeah. I mean, when's the last time we had a quarter without any news stories or scandals or anything like that? It just seems like there's just so much going on.
Well, Q1 was pretty good. Q1 was pretty solid. I mean, that was good. That was probably one of the best quarters in terms of guidance. One of the greatest. It was a fire earnings call, but the rest of them was like, it wasn't the best. Yeah.
Yeah. But look, I mean, this is the fundamental freedom that people have is they can buy what they want. They can vote how they want. We're not anyone to tell people whatever. I can share my thoughts about it. And again, it's tough for me too, because it's not like I was in 2018 and I voted for it or anything. So
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's whatever, but if you were raising a fit about the disclosure issues like that had happened, okay. I mean, and maybe it was an issue for some people, but it seems like this has turned from a vote on that to a referendum just on Elon. And I think that's why you're seeing so much vitriol back and forth about it.
Yeah, and I do think that there's some political things involved here as well. Maybe could be.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it, but who used to be the senator of Delaware for a long time?
Pejjy.
Oh. Oh, that's hilarious. That's good.
By the way, so your Trump thing that you casually mentioned, this Trump thing, Elon and Trump meeting, and Elon saying, totally denying it, saying, I'm not talking about, but here's what you should realize though. Elon didn't say, oh, I didn't meet with Trump. He said, I didn't meet with Trump on this crypto stuff, right? He basically came out and said, and I forget the exact words, but he didn't deny meeting him. He said there was no talk, me getting a spot on his staff. I still think there's something, and what came out a day after that, Elon is interviewing Trump on X, right? Yeah. So Elon is interviewing Trump on X. This is the thing, right? Elon's X business, what does it rely on? It relies on attention. It relies on clicks. It relies on garnering people's attention, like I said, and polarizing them a little bit, because polarization is really what makes people click on stuff and engage and all this stuff, right? What do a fraction of Tesla investors not want? They don't want Elon to polarize anyone. They want him to stand the company line, be a Tim Cook. So you have this almost conflict of interest to some degree of Elon being like, I need to stir the pot a little bit to make sure that X revenue is up. But then also by doing that, you kind of have this fraction of the Tesla base that's like, wait, what's going on? Why is Elon meeting with Trump and whatever it is? So I think this is good. It's going to be an ongoing story.
Yeah, and to end off this sesh is who do you think is going to win? I mean, we're both Canadians. We have no part in American politics, but I mean, I know who I'm voting for 2025 Canadian election, and it's
we don't have to get into that. We don't. We don't have to get into that right now. Who's gonna win, Trump versus Biden?
Oh man, it sucks that we have to talk about that. It's a round 2 of 2020, man.
But
who do you think is gonna win?
Okay, like you said, full transparency. I don't vote in the American election, so I really have nothing to tell you. But I think if it is Trump versus Biden, and I don't think it'll end up being Trump versus Biden, I'll put that on record right now. I do not think that's not me saying Trump is out. I think Biden is not going to be running. I think if it is Trump versus Biden, I think Trump wins. I think Trump's Biden. Round 2, I just don't see, like with Biden, I just don't see the appeal. If you look at the surveys, Trump is beating Biden massively. Now, post this conviction, let's see if that changes. There's some pundits saying that it's going to get even higher for Trump after this. I guess that's TBD. But my real prediction is I don't think there's like a greater than 0% chance that neither one of those candidates is running come fall. Biden, I don't know if he will be fit to run for the next 4 years. Just health wise, and Trump,
he's like a Tesla bot.
And then Trump got convicted, and the Republican National Convention is happening after his sentencing. If they move it before, then he will be the nominee. But if they have it after, I think it's the 24th, and he's slated to be sentenced on the 11th. There's a chance that they try to puppet him out too. So, although I think there's less of a chance of that happening, but I think they'll probably put someone in last minute for Biden, and it'll be probably the craziest election that we've seen in a long time. It's just sad that these are the two people that are the best people that in America. All of our American friends, there is 400 million Americans. There's so many beauties out there, so many smart people, entrepreneurs, business owners, even some politicians that are so much better qualified than both of these candidates. And so it's just sad that the process leads you to having Trump versus Biden. It's just kind of a sad scenario altogether.
It is. Yeah. Well, I mean, at the moment, it's the best they can find, which is, I hope that's not true, but I don't know. I think something tells me that Biden will win. I don't know. I'm not for Biden, nor am I with Trump. I'm just a Canadian guy who is not voting for Trudeau, but.
But you think Biden can still beat Trump if they run together?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think so anymore. I don't think it's possible anymore. No. I don't think
Let's
so.
see. Let's see what comes up. What happens in November? It's gonna be a crazy 6 months, man. It's gonna be.
I know that, and that's the thing is like, dude, November is not far away, and this election is so monumental. It really is, like for all types of policies, foreign and domestic.
Yeah.
It's just so massive. So I just have the same feeling I do about Trump that I did in 2016. I made a video that's actually on YouTube. I predicted that Trump was going to win the election the day before the election, and I put out like all my thoughts on which states I think he was going to win and by how many votes, and I counted them up, and I was like, anyone that tells you Trump's not going to win is not understanding it. And I just have the same feeling as it stands, like as we sit here in June. I have the same feeling this year about Trump, but I guess we'll see where it goes in surveys and stuff like that in the next 5 more months, which is nuts.
Yeah, maybe in 2025 or 2026, whenever they get sworn in or whatever, we can have 1 year of peace or something. You know what I mean?
I know. Yeah, how low the bar has gotten, hey, just altogether. Yeah, but by the way, like Russia is looking at this and laughing. China's looking at this and laughing. Like our adversaries globally are going, and I say our because I kind of align Canada and the US, of course, right? But
Yeah.
like everyone's looking at this and going, this is hilarious. We love the downfall of the republic, and this is why we cannot let this, as North Americans, I'll say, as people that support democracy, we can't let this get to us and divide us. We need to, if anything, get together and have a supported mission for democracy, for the Western agenda, because I think we're probably weaker than ever, but there's so much stuff that divides us today that I think the most important thing we can do is try to get together and stand on common ground in terms of morals and foreign policy. So
yeah, that's legit. That's legit. When it comes to geopolitics and stuff, because I love talking about politics and stuff. Russia is patiently waiting for, who's going to be the next president. If it's Biden, he's going to be like, damn it, we have to end the war sooner. If it's Trump, I think he'll be happier. For China, I think he'll be happier with Biden rather than Trump. It's a very interesting game, but I do agree on the not being so divided in the country. But I mean, if you look at the history of all history of voting and who's going to be the next president, for pretty much all of American history, people have been divided. When you look at it, it's not until there's some major event that something happens and they start to be collective as one. World War I, World War II, all these things. Majority of the history that I've looked at, the US, it's always been divided. But that's what democracy is, right? People have different thoughts. Unless something pisses them off, then they unite into one thing. But
I think the difference now is that you have stuff like TikTok that is out there for the sole purpose of dividing. And now you have people that are on their screens 3-4 hours a day. Like some people have crazy screen times, right, with their TikTok apps, whatever. And these algorithms are run to divide, right? Like these algorithms are so bad that China has even said, we've banned TikTok. We have I forget the name. I don't want to mispronounce it. They have a different version of it where like after 10 p.m. it like changes into engineering and maths and only like certain things for kids because they know how bad it is, right? So anyways, we don't need to get into this, but it's a whole problem that I see that is like that's what is different about today's society that was not the case. 9/11 was a big rallying of everyone together for a common cause, for better or for worse. So I think today everyone is divided because everyone spends like this is their kind of heroin today.
That's true. So you're pro TikTok being banned?
Look, I'm pro the divesting of the CCP in TikTok. Like it's going to sound weird, but I'm very libertarian. But I just think if you have a foreign government that is infiltrating and taking security and having all the biodata on all of your citizens, I think that's a foreign national security risk. And that's why I think they should divest from TikTok. The fact that they're, by the way, like people go, well, who cares? The fact that they're pushing back into saying, we're not divesting. We're the CCP. We're going to own a piece of ByteDance. We're not going to divest from this. Tells you everything you need to know. That they want that biodata. They want that. Think about think about the future in 30 years from now. If you're running for prime minister one day, Pejjy, and they have all of the data on you, foreign governments have all of the data on you, right? Like what your topics of interest are, if you have a second YouTube channel, what you talk about, whatever it might be, they have all the biodata on you. How easy is it for them to bend your arm certain ways to make sure that policies go their way? Like look at this 30 years from now and the problem that that I think this might cause. So
No, I can see that. I can see that with all the it's yeah. It's not settling that the Chinese government is behind, even though they've denied it so many times, but they have their hands in it in TikTok. I know they approved the bill that they want to ban TikTok in the US. They have 6 months to either sell some percentage of it to the US companies or some whatever it is, which I think is the right move. I hope there's some sort of a settlement there because, man, TikTok is a really good tool. If you have a business, man, it's a really good tool to use. And
100%.
I know in the US, I think people are getting paid for it. It's kind of like, just make a minute-long video and you're getting paid for it. So I think it's a really good tool, but of course, if it comes at the expense of your
freedoms,
your freedoms and going against your government and one day being ruled by CCP, I don't think that's worth the cost.
Yeah. Well, what makes TikTok dangerous and is, I mean, why are creator payouts so high on TikTok? I mean, who's subsidizing creator payouts on TikTok?
Dude, can I be honest, man? Like, here's the thing: I'm in Kuwait, right? And I see a lot of, because I'm only in Toronto, like maybe a few months out of the year. I know how expensive it is, the cost of living in Canada, but I am getting a lot of recently. I've been getting a lot of TikTok creators coming on my For You page because I have TikTok because the business that I run here, I use it a lot to promote. I'm seeing a lot of people going like, "Oh, how can we live?
I know.
I can't rent. I can't. Taxes are half. This is half." I know there is some truth to it, but I don't know. I don't know what I know, and I know Vancouver is a whole lot more expensive city than Toronto. So what's your take on that? Like, I'm looking at this and I'm just like, if I'm someone who wants to go into Canada and I see all this, and I'm like, bro, I don't want to go in a place that's
but who do you think?
socialist.
So do you believe all of those are real videos and not scripted out, paid for videos that are being posted and promoted?
I'll tell you what, I like reality. Like, I've been in Toronto. I see how expensive it is. I see how the tax system is. I've come to a point that I have called it a scam because it's just too much tax, man. Like,
I know,
it's ridiculous how much tax you got to pay in Canada, and they just raised the capital gains tax to 66%, and I'm just like, bro. But the way how these guys are describing it, they're going like, "Oh, I can't even buy food. I can't even." I'm just like, man, I don't know, man. That's kind of scary.
What do all those videos, a lot of those videos have in common? It's always one person who's probably white sitting in their car posting a selfie. Interesting that it's the exact same recipe for a lot of those videos that you see. I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on for a second and go, someone is behind these videos and they're going, this system works, this script works, record your thoughts, do it about this. And guess what? They get a lot of engagement based on that.
I've seen that.
I wouldn't put it past foreign governments to be behind certain pushings of amplification. What you're talking about is amplification. It could be true, but the amplification of it to create a higher signal rather than noise, like to push out certain aspects of the government that, to build this distrust in Western society is very lucrative. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Oh, that's interesting.
So,
but it's true. They're all sitting in their own car. They're all sitting in the cars and making these things.
Interesting, right? They're all sitting in the. It's always a car. It's always the same type of person. It's always the same type of script. Always starting with them crying or something like that. And I'm not saying some of these are not real. Of course, I'm not stupid enough to say that. But there's a degree of, hey, can we amplify this agenda out there to the world so they despise Western countries? Of course, you'd be silly to think that foreign governments do not want that. Foreign governments would love the fact that Western countries get this bad reputation. Now, I live in Canada and I have a buddy who's moved away from Canada the last 3 years, came back. I was having dinner with him. Of course, there's no denying cost of living's gone up. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Look at inflation data, right? It's 100% obvious. But and there's 100% like more tax and more regulation, of course. But he even said this to me. He's like, other than like, I see all this stuff, but like, it's kind of normal living. Like, it's just kind of what it was, when he left during COVID. It's like everything is pretty much the same. There's certain things that are costing more, but but majority of life is the same. It's not like this dystopian way that everyone is not living anymore and all this stuff. I'm not denying that there's always going to be a fraction of people that we need to help socially. I think it's been blown out of proportion for the detriment of certain governments. So anyways, we can do a whole podcast on geopolitics.
Yeah, we can do a whole podcast. Yeah, this is go ahead.
Yeah. So, like propaganda is insane.
Yeah, it like the way they say it, it's pretty scary. And I always think back, like all my friends in Toronto, they're all living with their parents still. Like they can't, like only a few of them. Just recently, there was in my area, they're building condos, like not in Toronto, like in the GTA part of it, building condos, and like what, a 500 square foot home is like condo, 500 square foot condo that's like 468 square foot, sorry, with 1 bed, 1 bathroom, 600K.
That's kind of high. Yeah.
I'm like, woo. I'm like, bro.
Yeah, must be a luxury condo. Yeah, of course. Cost of living, like inflation drives up the cost of everything, right? Cost of building.
Yeah.
There's bureaucracy everywhere, 100%. I am not, by the way, saying everything is great and I wish there was more tax. Of course I don't. I hate all this garbage stuff that they put through. But to me, I am on the side of, hey, what can we do to brighten our future in Canada? In America, I guess if you're watching from America, I'm just gonna leave and pick up my pieces and run away because I hate this game. You know, to me, I look at Western society as like democracy is the way. You know, all respects to all different countries, but you know, democracy, nothing trumps democracy to me.
Yeah, there's nothing that can beat that.
It is the best way. I don't want a royal family to run my decisions. I don't want a king or a queen to be able to tell me what to say. The democracy, if it works, when it works, is the way that I prefer. Capitalism is what I like. For me,
it's the best system out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There you guys have it. Now we went from talking about FSD to Elon vote to Canada stuff,
I know,
and stuff. Sheesh. But this is cool, man. If you're ever in Toronto, dude, we can like do like a live, well, not a live, but like we can do those like sit downs with podcasts and stuff.
100%.
Cameras. We can do that. That'd be flipping awesome, man. If you happen to come this summer,
okay,
anytime between July to September.
Okay,
it's gonna be wicked. Yeah, let me know. Oh, but guys, make sure you guys follow Yashu on X. Make sure you guys follow him, subscribe to him on YouTube. He has a lot of good stuff. He comments. Well, Elon comments on his stuff a lot, shares a lot. He a couple times took X by storm because Elon commented to him, reposted him. He's a man that you don't want to miss. So you better follow him, subscribe to his YouTube, and we shall see you guys in the next video.
Thanks, Pejjy. Thanks, everyone.